So these things do take time. Many of you have just received either your first letter or potentially your second practice due letter. So when you look at where we're at and basically what the expectation is, basically we want to keep things moving forward and show that we're moving to get these things done. As I mentioned, we all realize these things do take time. Typically 2 to 3 years isn't that uncommon from when you get this first letter, kind of starting the process to actually seeing that all the way through and completed. There's a lot of wild cards with logging, weather, logger availability, markets, and we understand that. So the main thing is that you're staying, the main thing to stay in compliance is you keep things moving forward and trying to get this practice accomplished. So if we look, basically many of you on this meeting are right here. You just received this letter, you have a practice due, and basically the next step where we want to get to is getting services accepted. What we mean by that is getting either a service agreement or timber sale contract in place with a forestry professional. After that happens, it's good to notify the tax law forestry specialist in the appropriate counties and let them know that you have services accepted, because then they can move you from that practice due list and mark you down as having services accepted. The next step, should just back up here real quick. The next step after having services accepted is we do want to get a cutting notice in place. And once we get a cutting notice in place, that's really when the job becomes active. So that's something that working with a forestry professional that can help you get that cutting notice in place. We got to have a cutting notice in place and plugged into the system before any logging can happen. And then lastly is just filing the cutting report, basically the volumes that were harvested by species and product. And I'll show you an example form of that later on